Hundreds of undocumented immigrants have been apprehended in ICE raids sweeping across the country.
The operations carried out in Georgia and New York mark one of the largest immigration enforcement efforts this year. Now, Chicago leaders are bracing for a similar crackdown as federal activity ramps up. Michael Yoshida reports.
Cell phone video capturing a sweeping immigration raid at a massive Georgia manufacturing facility.
We need all work to end on the site right now.
475 people were apprehended as several law enforcement agencies descended on the Hyundai Meta plant near Savannah on Thursday, according to a Homeland Security investigations official.
Almost for a second, like, are we in the U.S.? Like, I've never seen them come out like that, guns drawn.
A similar site hundreds of miles away in upstate New York. Federal agents raiding a family-owned plant that makes nutrition bars. Dozens of workers questioned, with nearly all taken into custody, according to the nonprofit Rural and Migrant Agency, whose staff witnessed the raid.
The people that work for us are, every single one of them are wonderful people. And to have them taken away is not only unfortunate, it's just inhumane almost, the way you see it, as it's being conducted.
Also Thursday, the Justice Department suing Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu and the city's police department over the city's so-called sanctuary policy, which limits cooperation with federal immigration efforts. Wu calling the lawsuit a, quote, unconstitutional attack. Earlier this year, the DOJ sued New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago over similar policies. A federal judge dismissed the suit against Chicago this summer. The White House continues to clash with Democrat-led cities and states. Chicago leaders are preparing for an expected immigration enforcement operation, which could include the deployment of the National Guard. In Washington, Mike.
So we might say it's no longer breaking news. There's mass deportation happening all across the United States right now. The U.S. is conducting their biggest deportation in recent history. What is happening in the U.S. is unrecognizable to a lot of people. People who have lived in the U.S. for decades, or even people who were born in the U.S., said this is unrecognizable to them. The Immigration and Custom Enforcement agents swept through workplaces, and by the time they were finished, hundreds of workers were taken into custody. According to ICE officials, these raids were part of a targeted operation focusing on business suspected of hiring undocumented workers. Hundreds were taken into custody and faced deportation. Hundreds of these deportees were on a flight within 24 hours, being deported to their country. And there's another side to this story. The Ghanaian government have an agreement with the U.S. government to accept deportees from the U.S. This was after the U.S. government have imposed high tariff on goods and services coming from Ghana, and also a restriction on Ghanaian visas. Some visa entries were completely banned, and some have restrictions. A lot of people are wondering and concerned why millions of deportees are on their way to Ghana. And these deportees are not just Ghanaians. They are people from other countries, other African countries. But they're on their way to Ghana. Whether the Ghanaian people like it or not, the Ghanaian community was not consulted at a time when there's a lot of xenophobia in Ghana. A lot of Ghanaians are saying they want Nigerians to leave their country. But now they're going to have millions of people from different countries arriving in Accra very soon, because President Mahama has decided to lie in bed with President Trump. And he has told Trump on that line that all the deportees from West Africa can come to Ghana. They will host them. They will look after them. John Mahama, President of Ghana, has done a deal with U.S. President Donald Trump, telling them that Ghana will accept the deportees that U.S. send. The question that a lot of people are asking today is it fair for Ghanaians or any African country to be accepting American deportees? Is it fair? Do you think this is fair? America is a first world country. I'm going to let you hear from the Ghanaian president shortly, John Mahama, explaining why he decided to agree to accept U.S. deportees, because Ghanaians cannot understand why Ghana agreed to take on these deportees from the U.S. And they are not just Ghanaians coming back home. They are deportees from different African countries, different countries in West Africa. Listen to the Ghanaian president speaking.
First, we were slapped with 10% tariff that was increased to 15%. And then we're included in 36 countries that were going to be placed on a visa ban. But in the meantime, all 5-year visas were cancelled and we were restricted to single entry 3 months. It shows the tightening situation in our foreign relations, but I do think that we still enjoy good relations with the United States of America. We were approached by the U.S. to accept third-party nationals who were being removed from the U.S. And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we facilitated, we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who is not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement, and so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days.
Is this in Ghana's national interest to accept deportees from the US at a time when, as I said before, there is xenophobia happening in Ghana? A lot of Ghanaians are hungry that millions of deportees are going to fill the streets of Ghana. People are asking, what assessment did the Ghanaian government do before they signed this agreement with the US? What checks have the Ghanaian governments carried out on these deportees before they arrive in Ghana? Criminal record checks, for example, disease check, for example, and the list goes on. What assessment did the Ghanaian government do before they signed this agreement? And were the Ghanaian communities consulted before this agreement is signed? The question is, can you imagine an African country signing an agreement with a European country or America saying, we will accept all your deportees to our country. We will look after them. Can you imagine that? Let me know what your views are in the comment section. Why are some African countries agreeing to this at a time when President Trump himself signed executive order that restrict visa to Ghanaians, that raise tariff on goods and services imported from Ghana? What is Ghana or the President Mahama, getting in return? What are your views? Do you think this is in Ghana's best interest to be accepting deportees from America? Let me know what your views are. Is it right for Ghana to do this? Is it fair for the Ghanaian people at a time when Ghanaians are being restricted from entering the US? And Ghana as a country have its own problems. These are people who America do not want in their country. So people are saying, is Ghana now the new dumping ground for deportees? Millions are on their way to Accra. Some African countries stood their grounds. Rightly or wrongly, some African countries stood their grounds. Country like Nigeria stood their grounds and said, no, Nigeria have their own problems to sort out. And Nigeria is not a dumping ground, but Ghana bowed down to the US. Is this in Ghana's best interest? Do you think this is in Ghana's best interest? Let me know your views in the comment section. These mass deportations are not over. As long as President Trump is in power, they are not over, they will continue. And the controversy continues as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on that notification so you'll see when I post the next video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.